Hey everyone, it's Benny the Finance Dog here. Welcome to my channel. As we do on every Sunday, we're going to be going over the upcoming week in the financial markets, earnings, and of course the charts for SPY, QQQ, and Apple to get you set up for the week. Let's begin. After the Jackson Hole meeting last week, we are looking at a fairly quiet first couple of days of the week. No major reports coming out on Monday. Tuesday has the home price index, but we shouldn't see much of an active market due to that reporting. And then same with Wednesday's numbers. We do have a GDP revision number coming out for Q2, though this shouldn't impact the market because the recessionary worries that we had before, right, recession being two negative quarters of GDP growth, we look to probably not adjust all the way down to negative territory. So a small adjustment in GDP isn't going to tip the scales in terms of reporting. So kind of clean Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in terms of just reports that are going to come out and speakers to kind of close out the month. Then on Thursday, things do get a little bit more interesting. We have jobs numbers as well as PCE index year over year data that could apply some economic data that the Fed might use at their upcoming September meeting. So eyes on that. And then Friday, non-farm payrolls to begin the month of September. Now, I said this before last week of the month and first few trading days of the month are typically good days for the month. I've, of course, stressed the word typically because, as we know, the markets are anything but typical in the way that they operate. So we should kind of see this rally continue that picked up last week. And we'll get into that a little bit more once we go over the charts. Moving on to earnings. Shout out Earnings Whispers for this nice little graphic that we put together on a weekly basis. Not we, but I use it every week, so shout out them. Monday, pretty quiet. Again, earnings season's kind of coming to an end. We do have some big names coming as soon as Tuesday. Best Buy will kind of continue to shine some light on how the retail industry is doing, as well as Big Lots. And then following that on Wednesday, we do get CrowdStrike and Salesforce. So two big tech names, in CRM and Crowd. So hopefully, after the close, they can continue this kind of like run that tech's been on just with some good earnings guidance. Would also be interested in seeing how Broadcom does and Lululemon on Thursday. So reason for Lululemon, they don't necessarily have retail stores as far as I know, but they do a lot of their sales obviously via brand partnerships, as well as online. So if they are healthy, if Lululemon is healthy, I personally would like that as an indicator of the overall health of the economy, because obviously shrinkage is kind of like the big subject right now for stores like Target and retailers like Forever 21, things of that nature. So if Lululemon is going to come strong with their online presence, that bodes well for the economy overall because they don't have to worry so much about shrinkage. Other than that, pretty quiet week coming up. Not too much going on. I think all eyes are going to be on, Crowd and Salesforce for the most part, and then Broadcom and Lululemon following that. So without further ado, let's get over to the charts for SPY, QQQ, and Apple. Beginning with SPY here on the monthly chart, we can see that we pushed back at the end of last week towards that 440 level, but unfortunately closed underneath it. And this is kind of what I was talking about last week, how, if we are to continue downwards, we kind of need like a healthy rally to balance things out. And closing underneath that 440 level indicates to me that this downward kind of momentum that we've been having is still fairly strong. So on the downside, it looks like that 430 level was respected. We didn't get all the way down there. We only tested 433, but I could see a 430 test in the making if we are going to continue to the downside. Though I go back to what I said about the end of the month being typically better for the market, in that we can see, a bounce up coming to, 445, definitely testing 440, 443, 445 in a rally throughout the course of the rest of the week. We are heading into Labor Day week, so I expect that the end of the week activity to be lower. So really the beginning of the week price action is what I'm going to be looking to trade, because I think that'll just indicate the general flow for the rest of the week. Switching over to the weekly on SPY here, kind of same thing, looking at that stair step that started in June, and we kind of have a similar, inside bar price action from last week's. That tells me that this downward rally isn't really done. But if we go into next week, obviously, test the 440s, right? 445, I'd probably look for a rejection off that. Similar to kind of how this week went all the way up, tested 445.22 to a T, and then got rejected, obviously back down to close underneath that 440. So we may be done with that test and could be headed down. Though we are starting to create higher lows, which could indicate that maybe this rally is set to continue. So those are some levels on SPY. Switching over to QQQ. Tech is a little bit of a more interesting case, definitely on the monthly chart as we take a look. Same thing, we came down, dipped under that 360 level. That 357 level is going to be highly important, I believe, for the Qs. And we held it, obviously pushed all the way back up to close just under 365. The fact that we're north of 360 is a good indicator to me that we could potentially see tech kind of continue what it was doing throughout the course of the entire year, continue to the upside. If we switch over to the weekly, we can see it in a little bit more detail. We've created both a higher high and a higher low last week, which is indicative that this 357 is kind of a good place for demand, so that this rally can continue up. Did get swatted after testing 372, swatted pretty hard. That's a $10 difference between the top of the wick and where the body closed. Would have liked to see this body close above 365 to kind of confirm that the rally has started again. But same thing here, right? Headed towards the end of the month. We got good earnings coming on Crowd and Salesforce, which are big pieces of the Qs. So if they're able to beat earnings and push, we could get a nice rally headed into Labor Day on the Qs. Last but not least, let's go check out Apple. Apple's been kind of trading in this weird sideways if you look at the daily, but if you look at the monthly, it's just been not a great month for Apple, dropping from a high of 196 to a low of 171. It's like a 12% drop in the month. Though it did push back up to close at 178.61. Would have liked to see it close above that 180 level that it was at on Thursday, but closing above 177.50 is, I think, good news for Apple, at least on the month, if we're able to just continue to push up and hopefully get over this May high. Right, May high was 179.35, so if we close above the month above that, I think that's good kind of previous resistance turning into new support, and we continue on our move up. Switching over to the weekly, kind of same thing that we're seeing on the Qs here, right? We got a higher high and a higher low. Would like to see it continue higher high, higher low, but the difference between Apple and the Qs here, we do see this body close above the previous body, right? So not only did it open higher and then it closed last week, but we also closed higher than it opened the previous week. I do like seeing this type of candle action to indicate that we could be in store for a rally to the upside. September is when the new iPhone comes out as well, so we could see some money starting to pile in to kind of get ahead of when that initially releases next month. So I'm not a huge hey, let's predict the future type of thing. I just think that's definitely something to be cognizant and aware of as we head into the month of September. So traditionally, I believe this week has been pretty strong in terms of gains for the SPY and the NASDAQ. With Tuesday, the third last trading day of the year, being up 19 years in a row from 2003 to 2021. So keep that in mind as we head into a shortened week next week. Hopefully this helps you make a plan. I know, at least for me, this is helpful to kind of get my head right about what I expect in the upcoming week in the markets, and I hope it's helped you as well. If it has, please leave a comment and definitely hit that like and subscribe button for additional content. And have a great week. Make it a great week. Thanks for watching. Woof woof.